Good morning. It's me again. It's early in the morning here in Australia, and I've got up and I thought it's time I did another one of my little revolutions against the follies of human categorisation that I've noticed in my life. No more of an introduction. This is the third one I've done. The first one I did was on the classroom. The second one was on Parliament. And today I want to talk about a particular category that's been of interest to me most of my teaching life, and that category is the essay writer. The essay writer. Now, to help you understand why this is important to me, I want to tell you that, let me think, it must have been 20 years ago, my job at a university was to help the students who were categorised as show cause students who had not been doing very well in their courses across all the curricula of the university. What an interesting job it was. So the first thing I did, I thought, well, now, if I'm going to help these people, I need to find out what things are troubling them. So I did a survey and I asked them what they considered was the major reason that they were now in this rather unfortunate and sad position. Yes, there were many categories, but the most consistent, overwhelmingly the major cause, was trouble with essay writing. Now, many of these students were overseas students from other cultures, and of course that difficulty is understandable, but the numbers were also from Australian-born students. So I had the good fortune of teaching writing, university writing, in another program, and so I felt reasonably competent to help these people. And so I want to tell you today some of the things I did. And maybe if you're a parent, you might be able to use such knowledge as I have in a way that will help your children. If you're a student, maybe it'll help you too. And if not, when it keeps me busy, it stops me from vegetating anyway. So welcome to this little discourse of mine. Now, I see an essay as a journey across the desert of ignorance. Every essay has the potential of changing the world. To me, it's a chance of a humble person, you or me, a first-year student or a postgraduate PhD student. If we write an essay, as good as perhaps the one I read on another place by Bertrand Russell about how to be a genius, we can change the world. Russell changed my world. Now, these are the things I have noticed people are not doing as well as they might. And so here we go. This is my, I hope, benevolent, or useful would be a better word to be sure of the meaning, useful category system. The most common mistake is that the writers of essays do not keep to the question. I was notorious, especially in my university teaching, with the letters K, T, T, Q. Some of my ex-students have done little satirical letters to me and finished it with K, T, T, Q. Keep to the question. The kinds of things that students do, this is an interesting topic about the French Revolution. I'll describe the French Revolution. But the question was not what was the French Revolution, but how important was the role of the aristocracy, for instance. Now, and so I said to these students I was trying to help, look, your opening must keep to the question. First of all, you've got to find out what the question is. And then I told them that in every essay question you will get, there will be two guidelines. There will be topic words which tell you what to write about, and there will be directives which will tell you how to write about it. So, once you know what the topic is, you are halfway there. You will be completely there if you know exactly what you have to do in your discussion of that topic. Now, it's just so important. I mean, you can write for pages on irrelevance and fail. From the moment you decide what the topic is, every sentence, every word, every punctuation mark must relate to that topic. I used to give a little exemplum in my pre-university course. I would say, supposing a young lover, a young newlywed said to her husband, "Darling, the roof is leaking." Now, really, would that husband reply something like this? "Ah, roofs. Now, there are many kinds of roofs. Roofs have been in existence for many years. There are flat roofs and sloping roofs. Well, I don't think that marriage would last too long in that case." So, it's just common sense. Keep to the question. Now, there are two kinds of communication, basically. I'm sorry, what a foolish thing to say. There are many, many kinds, but I want to speak about two kinds. When you speak, you write on the air. I'm trying to demonstrate that I can't, but I'm looking for what I've just said. I can't find it anywhere because it's not concrete. If I make a mistake, I can smile and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't right." Or if I have an ungrammatical statement, I can still smile and hope that that'll do something, but it may in some cases. If I'm applying for a job, however, it will not be very good. But anyway, when you write on air, or in other words speak, you can change it. It's easy. You can say, "Oh, I'm sorry, that was not right." But when you put it down, it's there. It's there as praise for you or indictment for you. One of my wonderfully varied jobs in a high school before university teaching was to get to know the Year 7 students, the new arrivals in the high school. Now, educational authorities were very concerned about the gap in performance between Year 6 in the primary school and Year 7 and 8 in the high school. It's a big shift for children, more than one teacher and so many. You all know the differences. Anyway, that was why I had this job of getting to know the children. And you know what I did? I got them to write me an essay. I got them to tell me about themselves and what they hoped would be their destination at high school. I've still got some of them. Occasionally they said something like, "You seem to me a good teacher. I hope you are my teacher," or something like that. But I believe that when an essay is written, you can have all your objective tests and other methodologies. But if you read an essay of someone, you've got a very good idea where that person is in sophistication, in understanding, in awareness of the world around him or her or him, if you like. And so, back to the essay in the model that I began with. So once you know where the question wants you to go, then your job is to do exactly that. Nothing else. You do it, of course, with a plum and get a high distinction. But even if you just apply the basic principles, you will not fail, as long as you know the work. So that's the second major point. You must know, you must have something to share with your reader. So let's assume that you know the work. Well then, you have words. Now I've noticed teaching people, for example, from Iran or from Indonesia or South Korea and certain parts of Australia, the words are a problem. I mean, you do need in writing, you see, I'm doing this off the cuff, I'm just depending upon my memory. If I had written it down, I might have said, tell them about the two kinds of written English that really matter. So I'm going to intrude into my discourse and go to that point. Now, we have informal English. G'day. How are you going? I'm sick of this place. That's quite all right, no problem, because it's informal English. You're one of my friends or my family. However, if you are a university examiner or a potential employee and the requirement is formal English, that's a very different story. Now I'm back to where I was with words, so on we go. Words. If a simple word will do, use it. A lot of the students I found in those first years at university used to think, now I'm in the big place, I've got to use big words. Well, it's not necessarily the case. Think of Coleridge's poetry definition, the best words in the best order. So if a simple word will do, use it. Now, check the spelling, but remember that spell checks don't always tell you it's the right word. So a dictionary is very handy too. And appropriate words, if you're in a category which is a particular subject area, there'll be jargon, there'll be technical words, scientific words. You've got to get them right. You've got to please your faculty by being a valid, conscientious member using the language of the faculty. Right. So words to me are the bricks in the house, which we call the essay. They're the bricks. Now, what do we do with those words? Well, we put them into sentences. Now, sentences are part of the structure of the building, and they must be a complete thought. What does that mean? Well, it's kind of what we might call reader friendliness, I suppose. I'll show you what I mean. Here's an example. Running by the river, which had wonderful green trees on its banks and was surrounded by beautiful scenery of many kinds, where the wind played happily and the birds sang beautifully and life seemed to be good, full stop. That's not a sentence. What happened? It's hard before this little camera of mine, but here I am running by the river and suddenly I stop. It's not a complete thought. So if we say, I fell in, then it's a sentence. So a sentence must be a complete thought. Now, having established that, we need now to be careful of some of the complete thoughts that we don't write carefully. So I'm dealing with the walls, I suppose, or the timbers in the walls when I'm talking about sentences in this structure we are building called an essay, and I'm comparing it to a house. Now, for example, I haven't got time to tell you all the kinds of mistakes that I find in sentences, but I'll just share this one. It's the misplaced modifier. So here's what I mean. Here's a sentence which, although it's a complete thought, it needs something a little more to earn you credit as a careful thinker. Here is a tombstone. The tombstone read, erected to the memory of James Smith, shot as a token of affection by his brother. Get it? Okay. Think about it, replay this. I'm sure you've got it. Okay, you see what I mean? Now, I had to mark sentences out because research showed that the quicker you get feedback, if you're a student, the better it is for you. You don't keep on making the same mistakes. In my high school experience, when classes were so big, it was so difficult to mark the essays and get them stuff back to the students before they kept on using it, and it was almost embedded as part of their normal behaviour. But anyway, in that marking, I would sometimes find comma splices. Now, a comma splice is two complete thoughts joined by a comma instead of a full stop or an and or a semicolon. They are called comma splices. if you have two complete thoughts, I am tired, I will go to bed, written as one sentence, that too is an incorrect formal sentence. It is in fact what we call a fused sentence. By the way, that running by the river without the verb is called a sentence fragment. It's only a part of it. Well, this is an interesting area, but if I'm going to get right through the things I want to share with you, I can't dwell on those anymore, so I won't. On we go then to the next part of the structure of this edifice of my thinking about the subject I want to share with you, which I'm trying to make rather special, worth reading, exciting, inspiring. You have all of those opportunities there. Well, what do you do with the sentences? Well, after you've sentenced them to life, good little joke, yes, I think that'll do. After you've sentenced them to life, you need to put them into paragraphs. Now, why do paragraphs exist? Well, they exist because it is terribly hard to read a slab of words on a whole page with no arrangement. So paragraphs are there, and conventionally, as part of the system that has evolved for us users of English, we use paragraphs to group the sentences into, if you like, areas of meaning. And so I have always stressed for students, be careful of one-sentence paragraphs. You find them all the time in newspapers. That's the way newspapers work, and we read the papers, and the journalists are busy and so on, so the structure of the thing is not as easy for them. But if you're doing an essay or a thesis, you need to make your paragraphs reader-friendly and effectively linked together. So we usually talk about at least two sentences, commonly, and perhaps ideally three at least. Not too many. Big paragraphs are not much better than a whole page of unbroken writing. So we usually talk about a topic sentence first in the paragraph, and that means if, let me invent one now, I am sitting in my unit in Sydney, Australia. Now that's the topic sentence in my little piece of writing to you, wherever you are. Hello, isn't this a wonderful world? We can share thoughts from wherever we are. You should have seen the world in 1933 when I was born. Never mind. Congratulations that you didn't. Back to where I was. Let's talk about the other sentences in the paragraph. The topic sentence, I've told you, and my evidence. I need what I call an evidential sentence. So I have a topic sentence about where I'm living, and now I'll give you an evidential sentence. Where I am is a place that is well cared for, and it is far from other overseas countries where I have been. That'll do, it's just spontaneous, but it's giving you a little bit more information about the topic sentence. And then, commonly, we use a linking sentence which leads on to the next paragraph. And that would be perhaps, let me think, right. I have been in many other places, but Australia is one of my favourite countries for a number of reasons. Full stop. Oh, by the way, don't forget your capital letters and your full stops. These are very common errors. Thousands and thousands of times I've had to mark those out in formal English. Informal English, please yourself. Write a novel, you can do what you like, but formal English, put your full stops or your terminal punctuation marks, exclamation marks, question marks. They are important. Perfection is an ideal for all of us. You can see I haven't reached it yet, but I'm still trying at my ancient age. All right then, there are your paragraphs. Now, what are you going to do with these paragraphs? Well, of course, every paragraph in your essay is going to keep to the question. Now, what do people tend to do after they haven't kept to the question in the opening paragraph? They try to show the reader, if it's a marker, what they do know, they didn't like this question very much, but they're going to let them know that they really have got some good knowledge about some other things. So they branch out. Commonly at the end of a bad essay, when they realise that they haven't really filled up enough space, or if they're required to do 2,000 words and they have only done 1,500, what do? Commonly, over and over again, alas for the marker, they repeat everything. So they say, as I said before in the beginning, and off they go again. Right. And so it needs to be a work of art, something which, as I said before, I think I said before, it's a journey across the desert of ignorance. So your first steps on that journey in the first paragraph are exciting. They're not frightening. They're not telling you, oh God, am I going to get across this? How am I going to get to the end of this? They make you want to read on, and they are done it without being pretentious. They are simple because they're the best words chosen, and they lead you in the direction that was desired by the question setter. They are answering the question. When you mark hundreds or thousands of them, you think, thank God, this person's answering the question. And your second paragraph encourages you to go across the desert a little further because you've got a little more information of the dangers or the excitements ahead. And the third paragraph increases this. And the fourth one doesn't take a sidetrack off somewhere else. It stays on the journey because your water is low and you don't want to die of word thirst or knowledge thirst, if you like. And so, as that journey progresses, the reader becomes more aware, more excited, more powerful as a human being, and it's all thanks to you. Now you're nearly at the end. Oh God, don't say in conclusion. Oh no. Oh, in conclusion. What a boring word, you know. So many people say in conclusion because they've learnt the formula. Their teacher has said to them, now you've got to have a conclusion. Here's a good word, in conclusion. Here, a good phrase, in conclusion. Why not try something like, thus it can be seen from this powerful evidence that, or you may think, or one may think, that this will follow, and yet it may not be true, yet the evidence suggests that this may be the wisest answer to the problems we have studied. Something that's different. Something that doesn't put your reader or your marker to sleep. All right then. Well, of course, there you are now at the end of the desert, standing on the mountain, triumphant, aware of what you didn't know before. And I can trust you to perhaps think, well, maybe that's a reasonable outcome for a person who does anything to change the world, make the world a slightly better place. Well, now, you'll probably be glad to hear I'm nearly at the end of this this session. I hope you've enjoyed that journey across the desert with me. Now, I want to point out that I've just touched on just the very tip of the iceberg. The course that I love teaching, I taught 9 generations at one university, was a preparation for university. And I marked an essay a week for a whole semester, 6 months or 5 months. Now, that was hard work for me, hard work for the students. And some of them wrote me letters in red pens when they left the little adventure we shared. But it's practice, practice, practice. Ask any cricketer, ask any batsman who's just got a duck. Well, now I'm going to finish, as I tend to do in these little wheels of revolution. I thought I might share a poem with you I wrote in 2005. That's 10 years ago now. And I've still kept it. And we'll see if it's relevant, if I've kept to the question of essay writing. Well, it is an essay. Maybe it'll change the world a little. I don't care. I've done my best to share some ideas with you. Here it is. 65 roses for the children with cystic fibrosis. Intangible things, morphemes, like imprudent dreams, or furtive fears, or flimsy formulae of faith in uncertain ideas. When you're a child, looking up at the towering mountains of experience, you try to find a pathway to understanding by whatever means you can. You reach out for things to say, even though your words are but feathers floating in the wind. You hope that they will help you fly beyond the place where words are not secret codes, but holy things, not the faltering temporary diagnoses of what seems to be, not clumsy tools which fall and hurt your toes, not noble panaceas, medicament for every pain there is, the earth, the fire, the air, and water of life itself. Once, in a whimsy, a child of fate's mourning, sought to say what he did not understand. The eyes of his soul saw the beauty of flowers in a garden of despair. Instead of cystic fibrosis, he said 65 roses. Then the smiling wind, as it has been known to do in the past, caught up his idea, swirled it around with heavenly pity, and charged it with such power that it put a girdle round the earth in milliseconds. It was amazing to observe that wind of that new morning dawning whisk the words here, there, and everywhere, until by chance what was blowing in the wind fell upon the ears of one or two surprised but accomplished ad-folk, spinners of speech. Suddenly the light of understanding led these men and women of the world laughingly beyond the place where half-truths and controlled innuendos live, to where days are preoccupied with understanding. There, as a gift, transcending even love, devised as it was in a place somewhere above mundanity, these skilful contemporary bards turned the thoughts of roses into charity cards. And with the words of a fragile child set to the enchanted music of innocence, suddenly converted you and me into a chorus line of the caring, high-footing it and dancing to the pure and eerie harmonies of compassion, of charity sales to us, and the twinkling rhythmic percussion of the checkout till. Well, there you are. That was a little essay that I was moved because of this dear little person who pronounced his terrible illness in a much more, well, in a delightful, simple way. And that gave rise to 65 Roses, a very important charity system, which I subscribe to. I prescribe it for you too. Anyway, thanks for making the journey with me. It's been quite long. I hope you found some of it interesting anyway. I'll be back, and my sincere thanks again. Bye for now. Bye-bye now.